Obi-Wan Can Blow Me, episode 5, where you find out what happens if you put LEDs in a massive pile of shit. The parody continues. This was funnier than watching Mr. Bean destroy the Mona Lisa, and some people have said this was the best episode of Star Wars ever created. Oh, really? Let's find out, shall we? We start with Anakin and his back to the camera. Why? Because what the hell have you done to his face? This is why men don't wear makeup. It doesn't work. That or he's put it on himself. I've seen women that can make themselves look like different people. How on earth is that the best we can do? And why does he look older than Ewan McGregor? Somehow, the ages are backwards. And the whole scene's weird because Disney normally specialize in young people. But either way, they get the lightsabers out and they're about to spar. This is the moment that Disney know the audience has been waiting for. That's why it ends and you just get Darth Vader. Remember, never give the audience what they want. It's the first rule of customer service. Because what they want is Reva. They just don't know it yet, or ever. And Reva walks in, and I don't know what she's about to do, but I'm sure it's going to be amazing, because I'm not a bigot.
You have done well.
See, even Vader agrees. She's in the room for about 3 seconds, she's already getting told how amazing she is. And what exactly did she get told she was amazing for?
The tracker worked.
Oh yeah, the tracker works. The tracker, which Vader already knew about. So the logic here is tracker tracked something, and that means...
You have done well.
But Vader tells her to kneel, and this is her I really don't want to face. No, I really don't want to, before she kneels anyway. It is weird how they designed the walkways so that everyone's looking up at them. Back in the day, skirts must have been banned, but Vader calls her the Grand Inquisitor, and she gets a nice little badge. Don't worry, you'll probably be able to get those in Disneyland in a couple of weeks. We promise it's not merch. It's just so nice to be seen. But with that, Vader travels off to Jabeam. He's really lucky they didn't go to Alderaan, despite the fact that he knows that's Leia's home planet. But Kenobi and Leia and everyone else return on this ship. They enter the base through a roof that just parts in half, and this is important for many different reasons. And as they land, you can see there's another ship already in the docking port. That's important because they try and hide it from the audience at every opportunity, except in that shot. But Obi-Wan Kenobi would have been able to see it the entire show, so it really begs the question why he hasn't asked about it at any point. From this shot, you can get a rough idea of the size of the people compared to the ship. That ship is massive. It's plenty of room on it for all of the people. Plenty of room on it for all of the people. So they walk off the ship and it's clear that Wade has died. Oh, Wade, how we'll miss you. Apparently, I'm almost as upset as this guy. Now, you'd think that a reaction like this would prompt some kind of side arc or story. No, never mentioned again. So the fake officer goes away and puts a hand on this droid because, I think a little bit more is going on there than it first seems. That's a droid with multiple attachments. We get this guy, again, I don't know why. His entire arc was over and done in episode 2, and he can only play one character, and it's the same one from Silicon Valley, so it's really weird when I just see a guy from Silicon Valley talking about Jedi. But he just says now he's being hunted by the Empire, so he feels like a real Jedi, and the place is a good business opportunity, and then he leaves. No, seriously, why was he here? You completely wrapped up his arc and made him appear again. Are you trying to set him up for a spin-off character or something? Trust me, you don't want to do that unless you want to set even more piles of money on fire. Reva spin-off series with him as a sidekick? Oh, please do it. It'll be hilarious. Now, you would think that you could go 3 minutes without contradicting your own plot. You'd be wrong, because Obi-Wan walks over to the big boss and says, hey, mate, that transport we just came in on, we need it because we've got to go back to Alderaan. And you're like, well, why didn't you go back to Alderaan before? Don't worry about that. Don't think. Turn your brain off and just consume, all right? We've had enough of your sort coming over here destroying our amazing TV shows that don't make any sense. But the boss just says, oh yeah, sure, you can have it, as long as we get all of these people out here first. They've been waiting for months, and now we've only got a few hours to get them out. You what? Remember, at this point, they don't realize the Empire is coming. They're saying they only have a few hours because a trade route is closing, one which they waited months to use. Seriously, them smuggling people's like me doing homework, you just wait till the last few minutes and then rush it. Remember though, they have 2 ships. Why doesn't Obi-Wan take the first one, and everyone else gets in the second one, and you just leave? Potential thumbnail number 1. Now, the audience isn't supposed to know there's a second ship here, but Obi-Wan can see it in front of him, but instead of like commenting on it, all he says is,
we'll do whatever we can to help.
You moron.
All right, let's hurry it up. Leave anything you don't need.
This guy's waited months and now he's like, hurry up folks, come on, we can't wait forever. Meanwhile, Darth Vader is chasing Doctor Who, but Vader tells Reva to lock the base down and she's like, if we seal it up, they'll hold out for days. I'd love to know how that's possible when you can just annihilate them from orbit, but Vader doesn't care. He's just like, it's not them we have to break. Meaning Obi-Wan Kenobi. You know what would break Obi-Wan Kenobi? Annihilating him from orbit. Let's see it deflects those, but little evil piece of merch is on the move, and you can tell it's evil because it's glowing red. My favourite thing about Obi-Wan Kenobi is its subtlety. At no point has Leia wondered why its light has suddenly gone red and made it evil. Even in our world, hackers try to cover their tracks. But in Star Wars, they just literally glow. Now it opens this hatch, and I don't know how, because it doesn't have any hands. Sees the nest of wires, which really makes me want to fire whoever's done their networking. But before it does anything, we cut to Obi-Wan and a load of lightsabers that people have left behind on their journey down the path. Because I always think if I'm going head to head with a massive interplanetary evil empire, the first thing I would do is give up one of the best weapons in the universe. Because what you really need to be is defenseless. Defenseless and unarmed. That's what you need to be. Absolutely. Who knows? Maybe they're going to be like Obi-Wan Can Blow Me and just play emo music in a cave for a decade. That'll be fun. And they also gave up their robes because it makes people look like a Jedi, which the Stormtroopers should have realized in episode 3. But the merch is up to no good, and it's got a little flashlight, which apparently is also RGB. It dives into the wires and just starts electrocuting and soldering one of the parts. So in other words, the entire thing is completely destroyed. I can see fire. There's certainly no way anyone but a trained engineer will be able to fix that with a lot of spare parts. There's fire, but the droid makes the roof close like a football stadium where it's rained. And suddenly they've detected an Imperial Star Destroyer has appeared in orbit. Okay, I still don't know why they closed the roof. The Star Destroyer could have just fired at them through the roof and blown up the entire base with one shot. But hey, I guess Vader's not known for his efficiency or success rate or anything like that, eh? Maybe it's just Reva who fails at literally everything rubbing off on him. And Kenobi's just like, he'll attack next. He won't wait for us to surrender. He's got no patience for a siege. How do you know? Oh, flashbacks, member berries. Oh, this is good, isn't it? Everything's so shiny and new. This is what you remember. This is what you want, isn't it? Isn't it? Oh, look, they're having a fight. They're having a fight. Ignore the plot. Ignore the plot. Just look at the lights.
Grow too aggressive, Anakin. Be mindful.
Yeah, that's how he knew he had no patience for a siege. Oh, look, they're having a flashback with a fight that characters actually care about. Better end it, though. The audience might have been having fun. Quick, end it. Get Reva back on the screen. So Darth Vader launches the attack, which turns out to be 2 ships from this entire destroyer. At no point do they explain why we can't just shoot it from orbit. So Obi-Wan, knowing Darth Vader is coming, decides to give an inspiring speech. They're stronger than us. They're better armed and better trained. Dude, with speeches like that, no wonder people started turning to the dark side. You're all going to die!
If we try and fight them, we will not survive.
Oh, aren't you just a little bundle of joy? Seriously, he's talking like the depressed robot out of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. But he says, we don't need to fight them. We just need to hold them off long enough to get you out. I'm like, well, how are you going to hold them off? By fighting them! But for some reason, everyone around him doesn't seem to know or care that he's just told them everything's going to die. So instead, he asks the main boss how long it's going to take to get the roof open, and I don't know why the other guy is here. The dude replies 3-4 hours, and he says, you've got 1. Oh yeah, that's Star Trek for you. I mean, we're in Star Wars, but for some reason we're quoting Star Trek. But if we lock down every doorway, by the time they get inside, we'll be gone. Yeah, that plan goes about as well as every single other plan that any male has had in this entire series. So the 2 ships are on the way down because destroyers can only carry 2 ships. Obi-Wan is looking at maps, even though this entire base is 1 circular room with 1 tunnel leading to 1 entranceway. I'm glad you needed that complex map. And the grand total of their defenses is to simply put 1 iron bar across a doorway and weld it there. Seriously, in the 90s, my dad had better security on his adult video collection than this. We zoom in on the door so you can see how secure it is. Yep, that is definitely an iron bar over a door. This show thinks its audience are as thick as they are. Oh, big metal bar on door makes door strong, yes. So while everyone is panicking and running around, these 2 lizards decide to start headbutting each other, and we put another metal bar over the door. All of the stormtroopers run up to the door and start forming ranks. For some reason, no one's trying to go in through the roof, even though that's another entryway, which is probably far less defended, or just annihilating it from orbit. I mean, come on, dude. They also bring this big cannon, and I'm kind of assuming it's going to be like a laser cutting torch that goes through the door. No. In fact, as you'll find out, this entire show doesn't seem to understand how energy weapons work. Namely, they destroy things via heat. But it would be stupid if a destroyer just sent down 2 ships, so obviously, they've sent a lot more than that. They've sent 3! Oh yeah, we're cooking with gas now. 50% increase in troop carriers, this is what I was after. Now the strange thing is the stormtroopers do this. How did they know? Not a single one looked behind them to see where she was walking, so how did they know which ranks to open up? I'm so confused. But of course, the extra ship is carrying Reva. And you know Reva, her plans are awful. They're all doomed to fail, and yet somehow miraculously work for a reason that no one has quite worked out yet. And I would comment on that, but Disney haven't got back to me yet on my Dulux paint chart to tell me whether I'm allowed or not. So Reva walks through all of the stormtroopers to the front line, and this is one of the few times you're ever going to find her at the front line. She made such a big deal about how her hair had to be seen because it was so important. And I'm like, okay, but did you not have a word with the scriptwriters about how much of a coward you are in this episode? But as we found out in the last episode, shouting means acting! And so, we're about to get an incredible piece of acting. Oh, that was gold. Look, all I'm saying is if she doesn't get an Oscar, Star Wars are going to have to come out and start attacking them like they did the fans. But they ready the cannon, and they blast the doors with a laser beam, so it's definitely lasers. And lasers are an energy transfer. Sure, there may be some force in it, but most of it will be heat and melting a big door like that. So it's weird how the door responds as if it's getting hit by a battering ram. You don't need to worry though, strong Type B is on the case, and she's about to provide vital intelligence to the strategic headquarters.
It's a heavy gun.
There's a technical term, they use it in the military all the time. What gun should we use? The biggest one! From now on, all bullets shall be judged by how heavy they are. She's not quite finished yet, though.
Trying to blast through the outside door.
Oh, Captain Obvious here is just full of useful information. What was that big bang over there? Oh, the shooting the door and trying to get in. We never thought of that. But Disney's not quite done yet. Another Type B's jumping in to help.
We need the hangar roof open.
How can we get out of here? Well, we need to open the big hole in the ceiling and fly out of it.
That was already part of the plan. I don't know why telling him again is going to help. I mean, seriously, if he's forgot, he's thicker than he looks. So for some reason, only after she's told him that they need to open the roof, because he ignored Kenobi, does he try and actually start the engines which open the roof. Seriously, no one thought of trying that before. But all the engines don't work and they just grind and hiss. And what I don't understand about this picture is she is looking at the roof. Kenobi is looking at the roof. And the third guy is just looking at a random wall somewhere. I don't know, he's just staring at his mate Dave. I don't know what he's looking at. And they're all angry the engines don't work, and so obviously what we get next is probably a hate crime.
That was underwhelming. I don't need your opinion.
So they're just whining at each other, and then Leia says this.
I'm going to need a ladder.
Honestly, I don't know what that's supposed to help you with. Firstly, why are we creating access hatches to engineering sections, which no one is small enough to climb inside except a child? And secondly, how on earth does Leia think she's going to actually fix a major mechanical computer problem when she's a 10-year-old child that knows nothing about computers? Now, this could have been set up if she'd actually been proven to have known anything about them. Maybe a father had trained on them before. Okay, but let's not forget, it was Obi-Wan Kenobi that fixed her mech merch, not her. She had no idea how to fix him. So how on earth is she going to fix an advanced computer system and engines, besides just looking smug? Obviously. So we get, it's not playtime now, princess, which is the correct response when a 10-year-old tells you they're going to fix your military station. But instead, Kenobi goes, do as she says. I trust her, and so must you. It's not about trust, it's whether she's got the intellect and the knowledge to fix a military base. I mean, if I needed to know the deep lore of SpongeBob SquarePants, I'm sure that she would be the perfect person to ask and inform me on that subject. But not advanced engineering. And that what the hell are you talking about face is the only correct response, and probably the best bit of acting out of the entire episode. That is a guy who's had to pull that face to his wife a lot.
Look, all I'm saying is it's hot, and so if we left the freezer door open, it would cool the room down.
And I know everyone loves Ewan McGregor. Oh, he's amazing. But come on, he said years ago he was done with Star Wars and never wanted to go back. He doesn't want to be here. And after seeing the episode, nor do I. But he tells her to be careful because it might be dangerous an event. Maybe he's seen Alien recently, I don't know, and off she goes. This guy gets told to look after her. He says, I'm not a babysitter. And then I can't think of him doing anything else for the rest of the episode. Seriously, I don't know why he's in this episode. So Leia climbs the ladder and goes in the vent, which actually seems easily large enough for an adult to climb through, so I don't know what they were talking about. It's also what you would expect to be designed for a clear engineering room. And then she just starts, like, grabbing all of the wires at random because she has no idea what she's doing. So Kenobi goes into a quiet corner to receive a message from Leia's father about,
oh, I'm so scared for her, and if you don't reply, then I'm going to go to Tatooine.
Which is only designed to set up the next episode as far as I can tell. I don't know why this exists. He also doesn't seem to have any delete message function for his top secret messages. He's like, oh no, that message is going to serve as a very coincidental plot device to move the story on at the end. That's his Jedi Force powers predicting the future there. So strong Type B comes in with her explanation about how she can actually work for the Empire, because as we all know, no Type B can be evil in a Disney movie. It's all those pesky men's fault. And it turns out none of it's her fault. No, she was lied to. The Inquisitors told her to round up a load of families because they hadn't been paying their taxes. And wouldn't you know, the Inquisitors lied. She says I didn't know what they were going to do. But 14 people were killed by the Inquisitors, including children. And I'm like, no, honestly, that sounds exactly like what the government would do if you didn't pay your taxes. I don't know how she didn't see it coming. And she's like, I couldn't do anything to help them. So since that day, I've been trying to let people escape. I mean, yeah, she is responsible for the death of loads of people working for the Empire. But now she saves the odd one, which means she's good. And has completely assuaged the conscience of everything. That's how morality works. Just remember, it's not her fault she worked for the Empire and got a load of people killed. Oh, no, 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 no. That's somebody else's. So Disney are trying to make out that women can't be evil, but it turns out they just end up blaming everybody else for their own actions. But then we get this.
We're in trouble.
I guess he's just seen the ratings. Oh no, it turns out that they're shooting the door, which they knew about before, but for some reason now they're really worried. All of the soldiers are armed in front of the door, and he's like, I don't know how long it's gonna hold. Okay, so that door must be melting then. You'd expect it to be red hot, dripping, maybe a few holes in it. Surely. Not really. It just seems like there's a scorch mark, and the middle of it is ever so slightly red. But Kenobi's just trying to stall, so he says, I need to talk to the Inquisitor. She's after me. That's why she kidnapped Leia in the first place. Everything was to get to me. So now, I want to talk to her about why. Somehow, with a stormtrooper on the other side, gets a message from the people inside the base, and I don't know how, because I don't know why he was near the door, because they should have been shooting it, and I don't know why they stopped. None of this is ever explained. But either way, he tells Reva that she needed to go to talk to them, and she goes right next to the door, so she can communicate with him via force whispering is the only thing I can think of how this works. Which begs the question, if they have to force talk to each other through the big metal door, how did the stormtrooper hear them in the first place to even know that she needed to go there? I'm so confused. So he puts his hand on the door and engages his forced constipation powers, but Reva says if this is you trying to stall, it won't work. Vader will have you at any cost. I'm like, well, okay, sure. Doesn't mean the stalling won't work, though. And Kenobi starts thinking it through, something which apparently is never done before, because he realizes it instantly when he tries. How did you know who Anakin was? Darth Vader would have kept that secret. You must have been one of the younglings that he went to kill and somehow escaped. Yes, they treat that as a big reveal, even though everyone realized it from the very first scene in the very first episode. And you just know that after episode 2, when everyone's like, how on earth does she know that Anakin is Vader? That's a big plot hole. And all the scriptwriters were coming out and going, no, 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 we don't do plot holes. Our scriptwriting is watertight, we've thought of everything. But everyone had already thought of this as a twist. They just thought that that couldn't be real, because that would be stupid if it was true, because how on earth does she escape Anakin? That would be ridiculous. And believe me, the explanation they use for it is, but don't worry, because when shouting means acting, we're going to get some incredibly emotionally powerful acting.
He killed the other younglings,
Enough.
but somehow you...
Enough! Enough! Oh, you can just feel the Oscar in the room. Oh, it was her! We're getting a flashback to something that everyone already knew. Congratulations! How on earth could we possibly realize that this character that you focused on in the first scene is also the person that you've focused on the rest of the series? Wow, you got me. But we get a backstory, which is ridiculous as everything else they're about to say. And Anakin comes into the room and legitimately just starts killing them. All of them, including her. Because I'm thinking, well, it only showed a left swipe and a right swipe, so maybe just took out the two on the side and not her. No, she says he killed her as well. Yes, she's saying she got attacked by Anakin with a lightsaber and could somehow play dead and then survive it at the end. I mean, come on. I don't know what's happened to Disney Star Wars, that lightsabers are now just Nerf bats and seem to do less damage than a baseball bat. It's ridiculous. Just everyone surviving them.
They were the only family I knew, and he slaughtered them.
Yeah, but you're still working for him. Then we get the huge reveal that I was using to take the piss out of the show because I heard it as a rumor and thought that would be ridiculous.
You're not serving him, are you? You're hunting him.
Yes, that's right. Reva is a double agent. You know, all that evil she's been doing before, where she would just randomly cut off people's hands for no reason, even though the Inquisitors didn't want her to. All that voluntary evil, none of that actually needed to be done. Oh, no. She was just playing a role. She's the worst undercover person ever who could actually be good, who I think they're going to try and make good, whereas actually done more evil than the rest of the Inquisitors combined throughout the series. And so no, none of it's her fault. She just had a bad upbringing. And that caused her to be one of the most evil people in the universe. And Kenobi's still like, let me help you. The only help she needs is a lightsaber in the face. She's evil, she attacks people for fun, and she's on the side of the Sith. I don't really know what else you need. And let's not forget, Reva has been hunting Obi-Wan for apparently no reason, because she's not after his help. She doesn't want his help. No, For some reason, the story is going to try and say that she's doing it because she blames him, because it's his fault that Anakin went into there and slaughtered those children. What? The loads of Jedi were there. Are you going to blame them as well? What about all the other ones? What about Yoda? Are you going to blame Yoda? Now, what would have been a good story is if Reva had turned and had actually tried to prevent people from doing as much evil as possible and had tried and been good, and then was hunting down Obi-Wan Kenobi so that she could ask him for help. But she can't do that because, firstly, she couldn't ask him for help. That would go against Disney's rules. And secondly, then she wouldn't get to blame Obi-Wan Kenobi for everything she's ever done in her entire life and all of the problems she's ever had. You know, couldn't be her fault.
Why didn't you stop him? Why didn't you save us?
I'd like to be saved from this show.
I don't need your help.
I'm a strong, independent Inquisitor.
I don't need anyone.
Well, you know, the last time you thought that, all of your friends died, so far, your batting average, not the best, love.
You have no idea what I've done alone.
Oh, believe me, love, I understand you've done a lot of rampant evil on your own for absolutely no reason whatsoever. Not exactly done the best, though, at killing Darth Vader, though, have you? Not quite progressed so much on the only plan you've ever come up with in your entire life. Really? Just the rampant evil that you've been successful at. Not exactly the best look for the character that Disney is desperate to try and make out is actually good. So at this point, she pulls out her lightsaber and uses it to cut through the door. And I'm not being funny, but you could see how quickly a lightsaber cuts through this door. Look at that! That was ridiculous! Seriously, if you can cut through a door that quickly, why were we even using the big gun on the first place? You could have just got the lightsaber and gone around the outside being lifted up by a couple of stormtroopers. It would have been fine. No, instead, we're just going to stand here and waste a load of ammunition for absolutely no reason whatsoever, just so she can break it open with a lightsaber anyway. But Kenobi uses force push on her, and obviously, he's got to look constipated while he does it. And now you get to see the battle lines. A load of stormtroopers, and at this range, you think they can't miss. There's so many of them, they're very close, and people are everywhere. It's actually harder to miss at this point. But they are all using blasters, so the stupid thing to do in this scenario would be to go into melee range. Meanwhile, we've got Reva and her lightsaber, so you'll assume that she'll be on the front line, deflecting blaster bolts and just hacking down people. Being that she is the strongest unit, at some point you would assume she would engage in the fight. No, Reva tells them to advance and is a complete and utter coward. Yes, Reva likes to send in the stormtroopers first while she does nothing. It's just the rampant cowardice, you see. It's been a theme throughout her entire life. Gets all her friends killed. It's all her fault. I don't know, all I'm saying is she blames everyone else, but she seems to cause a lot of the problems herself. So there's blaster fire everywhere, and it seems to be missing all of the important people. A lot of the stormtroopers are dropping, and we keep cutting back to Reva, who has so far done nothing in the fight. That's a very common theme. As you can see, she's always behind other people. Personally, if I was the rebels, I would have had some kind of cover to stand behind, but we never thought about that for some reason. Not any empty boxes you could use or anything, no. Stormtroopers dropping like flies. And Obi-Wan Kenobi is doing the coolest thing of the fight, where he's just standing in front of them, as you would expect, deflecting as many blaster beams as he can, firing them back at them, all that kind of stuff. Watching Jedi do Jedi stuff is enjoyable. I just don't know why everyone else in the scene is acting like an idiot. So the scene goes on for a while and the same thing. The stormtroopers keep advancing on them, even though they've only got blasters and no melee weapons, so there's no reason for them to. Seriously, they could stop at this distance. There is no advantage for them getting any closer. And look how far Reva is at the back. The scared little girl. Now, the stormtroopers, for a reason that I still don't understand, have just entered the base into melee range using their blasters. This guy is 2 inches away from them, shooting them with a blaster, and not a single one of these 6 people can hit him. Look, I know stormtroopers can't aim, but this is taking it a bit far, don't you think? But what they have achieved is closing in on a Jedi in melee range, which, you know, he uses a lightsaber. Can we put 2 and 2 together, people? Come on. Do you not have military people on staff which advise you on tactics? I don't care if the stormtroopers don't care about their own lives. Whatever. Maybe they're too scared to care about it. Whatever. They just obey orders. Right. Could we please just think about some kind of military strategy? I don't think it's much to ask for the people with guns to stay at range. Come on. But the stormtroopers play the whole encounter like it's a game of Space Invaders, that if any of them actually reach through the door, then they win, when that's not how fights work. Still, this guy's never been hit, despite the fact that he's been 10 inches away from another stormtrooper for about the last half an hour. If you want to see how stupid this fight gets, these 2 people have grabbed a stormtrooper, and that one's hitting him with a metal pipe. They didn't even bother to shoot him. The disrespect. Okay, I said that guy hit the stormtrooper with a metal pipe, but as you can see, they're actually in the background, and this guy's swinging the pipe in the foreground at nothing. They're actually nowhere near each other. Either way, Kenobi, because they've closed into melee range, can now just hit them with the lightsaber. It still takes multiple hits to take any of them down, and no one gets arms cut off. No one gets sliced in half. I don't know why. It's a lightsaber. One of the rebels finally gets shot. It does make you wonder why they've not managed to hit any of the rest of them, especially as the leader is in front of the Jedi with no cover and has been the entire time. Still not been hit. Also, guy with metal bar is now teleported to the other side of the room. But the stormtroopers advancing have finally taken the room, and so they decide to retreat up a tunnel with Kenobi covering their exit, deflecting as many blaster bolts as possible. If you've not heard me talk about what Reva's done, it's because she hasn't done anything. Well, okay, I mean, she did do this. Yeah, that's right. She yeeted the patriarchy out of her way so that she could do the real work. Now all the men have walked forwards and done it all for her. Finally, she gets to the front and she's like, get out of my way. I need to do this. Just kidding. I mean, there's the front line. Can you see Reva anywhere? I can't see Reva anywhere. It's almost like Reva's nowhere near the front line and she's just pushing people out of her way so she could be scared a bit more. I like Obi-Wan using his lightsaber to deflect laser beams. I just don't know why the stormtroopers are playing a game of Tetris. It just doesn't make sense. That's my main problem with it. And considering he was the only one to shoot at and you got that many stormtroopers in a line, there's no way he's deflecting all of those blaster bolts. Oh yeah, there was Reva. She's at the back. She's at the back of every single enemy. Like a coward. I don't need anyone. I can do anything alone. As long as I've got an army with me to do all of my work for me. Oh, I'm ever so sorry saying I didn't know why he was in the episode. He does have a very, very important role. And this is it.
Leia, we gotta hurry!
I hope you all enjoyed that because that is as good as it gets.
I feel like you're not listening to me.
Seriously, it's like he's watching the review.
Stop talking!
I think she is as well. But meanwhile, everyone's running away. They've now got barricades and cover, which you would have thought you would have had in the first line of defense. But no, we're going to let a load of people die first, and then we're going to use cover. We've got the robot in the front line who's just aimbotting them all. Hardly seems fair. They are stormtroopers. Stormtroopers can't defend anything. The robot's just standing there, annihilating everything. I don't think he realizes that he can use the cover as well. Now, a lot of people have died in that last room, but this woman gets shot, and for some reason, Obi-Wan's like, no! And runs over to help her. I'm like, you didn't care about anyone else that died. What's so special about her? Is it just because they were dudes? Is that why? It's like, oh no, you've been shot. I must stop fighting because of this one singular person. Seriously, it's like being back in Halo. But Obi-Wan carries her back down the corridor, and we've just got the fake officer and the robot defending the entire corridor, and we're about to do the most stupid fight I've seen. I didn't think she could top her last episode, but Disney, Disney, you'll never let me down. How deep does the trash pile go? The answer is always deeper. Because she's fighting them, a stormtrooper approaches her, and we get this. She snaps his neck. We've had an open palm slap take down a stormtrooper, and now apparently this can snap your neck. And if anyone's thinking, oh no, she just threw him to the ground, she didn't snap his neck. Okay then, explain why there's a crack. The sound effect guy clearly intended it to be a cracked neck. Although she does then shoot him in the face as well, which seems a little bit overkill. So the robot's just stood there shooting them, and he's holding his gun out at people in the distance when there's people right next to him. The stormtrooper in the back is holding his gun past the robot when the robot's right next to him. I don't know, target acquisition and shooting people in order of them being most dangerous seems to be the most basic military strategy you could have taught, but apparently Disney, hello. The only time the robot gets stopped is when the stormtrooper gets close enough to grab his arm. Nobody is shot at him until this point. I'm pretty sure they only did it so we can get this scene of him slamming him on the ceiling and then knocking the next one all the way back, which admittedly was pretty cool. But then, as if by magic, the moment he touched a stormtrooper, suddenly all the stormtroopers can hit him. And her, finally. For once. We got to see her break a guy's neck through the power of thought alone, because she was about to go and they had to give her a good send-off. So eventually the stormtroopers can aim and take down the robot. Obi-Wan's trying to desperately get back to her, but can't because the stormtroopers are right next to him. Yes, that's right. These stormtroopers also closed on a Jedi into melee range, even though they've got blasters. Because they're smart. So the robot's dying and he's getting shot in the back, but he's covering her body with it. It's an incredibly emotional scene as her Hoover dies. Look, I know he probably had exceptional attachments and that got you really attached to him, but at the end of the day, he is just a glorified Hoover. At this point, Obi-Wan stabs a stormtrooper in the chest. He really should have known better than that. Everyone's surviving those nowadays. Like, seriously, it's pointless to even do that to a person. They'll just get better tomorrow. It'll be fine. Just walk it off, dude. Just walk it off. Oh no, I'm ever so sorry. You made great toast, and your vibrate function went up to 12. I mean, look, I'm upset if my graphics card dies as well, because then I can't game, but you're laying it on a bit thick, love. Especially if you've been shot yourself. So Obi-Wan still can't reach her, and she holds up a grenade. And Kenobi's like, no! We've entered the land of the massive cliche, which I'm not against. I'm just against how a grenade works. I'm also against how every single frame of this is blurry, so I can't use it as a thumbnail. I mean, there's that, but it probably won't be the best quality. Now, unfortunately, she seems to have one of those really bad grenades where the moment you press the button to charge it, it just instantly detonates. So she says, "May the Force be with you." Reva sees the grenade because at this point she's just holding it in the air like she just doesn't care who notices. She's like, "Hello, stormtroopers." And she says, "Get back, get back." Personally, I wouldn't have given them that much warning myself, but she presses the button and you can clearly see her press the button and you get a massive explosion. Personally, I would have charged the grenade and then lobbed it at the Sith Inquisitor to see if I could get an easy kill. Just me, the way that wants to try and take out as many people as possible rather than just instantly detonate it on me when I've got no enemies around me. I call me crazy. So Obi-Wan's devastated because he's known this woman for at least an hour. We get this guy on the screen again, doesn't say anything. Why is he in the episode? I don't know. He's simultaneously a background character who's also a main character that doesn't do anything. I'm so confused. Gets told that she's breached the outer doors, and he immediately tells her to stand down because he's on his way. We get another flashback to the training because member berries might save the episode for some reason that I've not worked out yet. I don't know. Personally, I couldn't care less that they're sparring. If you want me to be entertained by something, you're gonna have to do a hell of a lot more than just bringing back an actor. "Oh, they paid me a lot of money to come back. You should all thank me." No. But after the sparring scene, Obi-Wan comes up with a plan. He's gonna go back. And this guy's the only legitimate response of, "You can't quit. We've all been fighting, and now you just want to go out there and die for no reason. Congratulations, mate." Because Obi-Wan's a bit self-obsessed. "They want me." He's like, no, he's gonna kill all of them. That's why he tracked you here, because apparently you didn't matter. Everybody else did. For some reason, now we're supposed to think that Obi-Wan Kenobi is really important when they had him and let him go so they could find this base. So Obi-Wan Kenobi isn't important anymore. The base is. Why are we acting like Obi-Wan Kenobi is suddenly the most important thing again? But they're amazed. They're like, "You can't fight him. He expects me to surrender, so therefore I must fight." It's so bizarre. I must do what he doesn't expect. What doesn't he expect? Me to surrender. Oh, congratulations. So he hands over his lightsaber and everything else he has to this guy, presumably so he can get his own spin-off series? Seriously, I don't know why. They're making such a big deal out of the character, and I don't know why. He's not done anything the entire episode. Oh yeah, and the message beacon, which is only there to remind you that it exists, because the audience is stupid, they couldn't remember for the last 10 minutes. But the Star Wars scriptwriter is back at it again with that deep prose we've all come to know and love.
You want to tell me how you're going to fight without a weapon?
There are other ways to fight.
No, there aren't. If you put me in a room with the Sith Inquisitor, and I go, "I'm not going to fight you because there's plenty of other ways to fight," I'm dead. It's that simple. So they open the door and Kenobi walks out, and the stormtroopers don't shoot him. Like, the moment that door opened, I would have been shooting, but apparently, no, he's got away with it. We could have actually ended the original trilogy in this very scene if the stormtroopers had acted properly. Leia is still messing around with a load of wires that she has no idea what they do or how to fix them, and she's just scrambling around in the wires in the same place that she's been for the last 10 minutes at this point. I don't know. But the sneaky game they've played is, obviously, there's red lights on the computer, so it can morph in with the red lights. I'm like, okay. But it does make a humming sound when it flies, which I can hear in the audio, so why can't she? It's very clearly humming. Also, at no point do we think, well, there's all the red lights around the bottom of the computer, and there's one up there. That's unusual. Oh, also, it seems to be moving. But let's face it, Leia not spotting that's probably the most realistic part of the entire scene. So the stormtroopers bring Obi-Wan outside, and Reva's really pleased. "Inform Lord Vader that Obi-Wan is ours." I'm like, well, okay, but why do you care? No, seriously, why do you care? This entire series, she's been like, "Obi-Wan's the only one that matters. I must find Obi-Wan. Oh, I need to get to Obi-Wan." And people were coming up with all kinds of stories. Maybe Vader lied to her and told her that Obi-Wan had killed all her parents and her family or something. And it turns out, no, all he did was not do anything to her. Her being angry at Obi-Wan because he wasn't with the younglings is like me being angry at Tom Jones because he didn't teach my mathematics class in high school. Now, given that a director's job is literally to frame every single shot, every shot is deliberate. So, the symbology of this should be lost on no one. Let the past die. Kill it if you have to. One of the great things about prequels is you can destroy all of the characters that people actually like and just replace them with your own. I mean, your characters are trash, but by dragging down the rest of them, your trash characters kind of look a bit better. But she starts bragging, "Oh, Vader's on his way." And Kenobi says, "You are not bringing him to me. I am bringing him to you." And then for some reason, Obi-Wan starts pleading to a better nature. I'm like, I'll give you a hint. She doesn't have one. This is a woman of pure evil, which has spent decades working for the Sith, just slaughtering families. The fake officer, about 10 minutes ago, told him exactly what she did to families. That they slaughtered all of them, the kids and everything else. In the first episode, she cut a guy's hand off for no reason whatsoever, and she went too far for the Inquisitors. She was too evil for the Inquisitors. But now, Obi-Wan is trying to plead to her what? Sense of morality? She doesn't care about them. She cares about nothing. She's a being of pure evil. And we're supposed to think that, she actually cares. Oh, I'm looking into the distance. Oh, I can't believe he's going to do that to these people, even though I've never cared for literally my entire life about doing anything evil. What they're doing here is just completely sick and twisted. Trying to make out that she's a good character. It's absurd. And then he hits her with it. We could end this together. What makes you think he won't see it coming? He will be focused on me. And I want you to remember that because the show doesn't, and nor does Reva. She should only actually attack Vader if he's focused on Obi-Wan. So she walks away, tells the stormtroopers to grab him, and then they take him back inside the base. The enemy base! Reva forgets that the base in front of her and the guard doors aren't hers. They're the rebels. I'd love to see you explain that one to Vader. I did have Obi-Wan. He was right in front of me, on his knees, surrounded by stormtroopers. And I said, hey, mate, why don't you just go in there with all the rebels? But that's not quite how Reva phrases it. We got some more member berries of a fight. I mean, it's cool, but it's literally just to go, oh, don't you remember these two? Back before Disney bought it and things were good. Because Vader appears next. Probably wondering where Obi-Wan is. And obviously his first question is...
Where is he?
That's exactly the question I would have been asking, because I thought he'd be here.
I have him secured inside, my lord.
No, you don't. You had him secured outside, and then you sent him back to the rebels. So Obi-Wan kills the two stormtroopers around the corner, because that way you can avoid doing any choreography. And we cut back to Leia, who's about to get attacked by her own merch. For some reason, though, it just kind of flies at her. And she can grab it and easily stop it. Bearing in mind, this was something which tried to attack an Inquisitor, so you'd assume it'd have some kind of power. And we've also seen that it's got a spinning blade that can come out the front of it. At no point does the spinning blade attack the child. Didn't have the guts for that one, did you, Disney? So for some reason, it just doesn't do anything that it would do in this scenario and is easily defeated. As she finds the tracker, which has hacked it, and pulls it off. At which point its eyes immediately turn blue because now it's good. Aww. Seriously, if red is evil and blue is good, it's surprising she didn't realize it had been hacked the moment she saw it. But Vader comes in, and you think Reva would follow him because she's got to be there when he's fighting Obi-Wan. Luckily, at this very moment, Leia realizes that she can fix the doors with her magic screwdriver. And so, with Leia's decades of engineering experience, she solves the problem. How did she do it? Magic? I don't know. But the doors are open and now they can escape. Obi-Wan comes running in, and I'm questioning seriously, how long is that tunnel? Because Vader's also in that tunnel at this point. And this guy's running along so he can achieve the only thing that he does in the entire episode. He drops the communication device. That's right, he got given 3 things: a lightsaber, a gun, and the communication device, and somehow managed to drop one of them because he's holding them like this. If that could fit in your pocket, how on earth did you drop it? But while they're getting in the ship, Vader's walking down this corridor, which seems to go on forever, to be honest. He finally makes it inside, and the ship takes off. At which point, Vader might be a bit overpowered, because he just stops it with the Force, and the ship's desperately trying to take off, and he's just holding it there, and then brings it down to the ground. I'd like to point out at this stage, this is the same guy who couldn't stop a droid carrying Obi-Wan away because some fire was in the way. But hey, who cares about logical consistency and rules for your magic system? So the ship comes crashing down to the ground and Vader just starts stripping out parts from it, firing them at the camera, and then he just strips out the entire wall, and as he does, he sees the second ship take off in the background. And I know what Vader's thinking, and I think this is what the entire audience was thinking at the same time. Why doesn't Vader just force stop that one as well? Because for some reason, he just lets that one fly off. Also proving that every single person in that base could have fit in that ship all along. When Obi-Wan Kenobi at the start of the episode asked if he could take the ship, the answer should have been yes, because we'll just use that second ship over there. That second ship existing, which we did see when they landed at first, makes the entire story of this episode completely redundant. You can't have a story contingent on not having a ship available and then make them have 2 ships. Come on! Are you just nitpicking? No, nitpicking is where you have a tiny problem. Here, they have tiny brains. So Vader just watches them fly off, doesn't try and stop them or anything else. Obi-Wan has got away. This should be the end of the episode. But no, we've got to have another member berry scene where Obi-Wan actually outsmarts Anakin. Oh, Anakin, your problem was that you thought I was defeated. You're a great warrior, Anakin, but your need to prove yourself is your undoing. And then we get the line which they are going to try and say fixes all of the problems and absolutely means the show doesn't break any canon.
Until you overcome it, Padawan you will still be.
Yes, last time we met, I was but a learner, but now I am the master. So they're going to try and say that him getting tricked by having a second spaceship somehow makes that line still make sense, rather than actually referring to a learner and a master. There is a small matter of a Star Destroyer in outer space. I don't know, call me crazy, but I kind of think that a Star Destroyer would be able to track a tiny little transport vessel and stop it. If it can't, how crap are Star Destroyers? So Vader is really angry. And there's one really stupid thing that could happen right now, just to round off the entire parody of an episode. And as if on cue, there she is. Oh look, I'm gripping my lightsaber. Like, how pathetic does she think this is? The whole idea was that she attacked him when he's distracted by Obi-Wan. He's not distracted by Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan isn't there. Obi-Wan flew off. If Darth Vader and Obi-Wan were having a fight, it would make sense. But they're not. So, what are you doing? So she pulls a lightsaber out, and Darth Vader just stops it with the Force, which is going to happen a lot. At this point, she has to win the award for most idiotic character out of the entire show, doesn't she? Any normal person would have walked into the room, realized Obi-Wan wasn't there, and then stopped, because he's not distracted, which was the entire plan.
He was wise to use you against me.
He didn't use anyone against you. She didn't do anything. She only turned up after he'd already escaped. She could have not existed on this planet for the entire episode, and the story would have been exactly the same. And her story wasn't affected by Obi-Wan, because Obi-Wan isn't here either. So she's just attacked Vader the first time his back was turned to her for no reason. I don't know why any of this is going on. None of this makes any sense. But we do get an incredible piece of acting from Reva. Shouting means acting! Now remember that Obi-Wan couldn't do anything against Vader. But I suppose at least he did actually swing his lightsaber at him, which is more than Reva can do. What we get here is something which is cool, but weird, because Vader doesn't even use his lightsaber. He's just using the Force powers against her. I don't know whether this is meant to humiliate her, because she's nowhere near his power level, so he doesn't have to. I don't really know what they're going for. I mean, the battle itself is kind of cool. It reminds me a bit of the Matrix fighting scenes where they're first training, when Neo's in the training room and he's just getting totally outclassed by Morpheus. It just doesn't seem very Vader, because now he's just dancing, dodging around all over the place, like wiggling and stuff. It's like, that's not Vader. He would have just got his lightsaber and started smashing her defenses down. He doesn't do all of this weird dancey stuff. He's not a gymnast. So then she gets a spinning lightsaber out, which still looks ridiculous whenever it's used. I don't even know what she's supposed to be doing with it. She's just holding it in front of her and it's spinning. What's that meant to achieve? Seriously, it would have been better if you'd just flown off with it, love. At least then I could have got a laugh out of it. So Vader just slows down the spinning blade and then sucks it to him. And I'm like, okay, but what did she think it was going to achieve in the first place? Surely this spinning bit should come in some kind of use for fighting. You'd have to turn it sideways and shred him with it? I don't even know. But Vader separates the blade into two. I'm like, okay, this is going to be where he's just beheads her with two lightsabers. No, he throws one on the floor for her. Because Vader, obviously known for his honor, wants her to keep fighting him for some reason. So like, okay, now we got Vader with a lightsaber. He's just going to annihilate her, right? No. Because we get this really stupid sequence. But look, she rolls round to his left, and so she gets behind him, and at this point, you'd expect him just to turn around swinging so that now he's facing her. Instead, he just swings to the right, then he goes across himself and attacks behind him to his left, rather than just turning around, then spins around again to attack from the right, and at this point, I'm dizzy, and I don't know what's going on, and I don't know who choreographed this, but whoever it is, please stop. Do TikTok videos or something. Go out and start choreographing little dances for people, because whatever it is, don't do lightsaber battles. I'm begging you. So Vader force pushes her, which really is just her doing a front roll. He throws a lightsaber at her and she deflects it, obviously giving her the confidence to attack him again. And he just stops the lightsaber again with his hand and pulls it off her. I know a load of people are going to love that scene. They're going to think, yay, lightsaber fights, that's great. But if you think about what happened, firstly, it wasn't very good. If you think about Vader doing that, you're like, what on earth has just happened? And why on earth have we suddenly got into this whole thing where everyone can just stop lightsabers with the Force? Because now anytime Jedis fight each other, you're just like, you don't even need a lightsaber. What are you using that for? That's pathetic. It doesn't do anything. Now, at this point, I did think he was going to behead her. So I was reaching for the champagne. She starts having flashbacks to her childhood. I don't care. And what we see is Anakin stab her straight on, just like she did to the Grand Inquisitor. And has happened to her. And at this point, you should be dead. For a start, Anakin wouldn't have messed up. He would have definitely wiggled the lightsaber a bit to make sure that you were gone. He's not going to leave you so that you can actually survive any of his wounds. He's better than that. And Darth Vader wouldn't. Although in this, apparently it's intentional, which doesn't sound like Darth Vader again. Because he just starts bragging, did you really believe that I did not know who you were, youngling? And the Grand Inquisitor comes back as Darth Vader says, you were of no further use. So, we're supposed to believe that everything that's happened so far was all part of some big master plan. That Reva's had a big master plan to kill Vader, but she was also really desperate to kill Obi-Wan Kenobi, not to get his help, but because she wanted to kill him for some reason, which is never explained. No, you didn't stop Anakin isn't a reason. Meanwhile, Vader has also had a big master plan to sick her on the world to track Obi-Wan for him, even though Vader knows that she doesn't actually have any reason to track Obi-Wan down, because Obi-Wan didn't do anything to her. He did. So all he's actually achieved is kept around someone who wants to kill him, which is pretty standard for Sith because their apprentices always want to kill them, so I can let that go. But it doesn't make sense how everyone's talking about how useful she is, or why the Grand Inquisitor wanted her to kept around, because she wasn't useful to the Grand Inquisitor. And if people are like, he survived because he has 2 stomachs, but Reva didn't know he had 2 stomachs because she wanted to kill him. So are we saying that she accidentally stabbed him in his 2 stomachs? What you've done here is opened up a can of worms, which I don't even think you realise all of the problems that you've just created. And this dude's like, hello, revenge does wonders for the will to live, don't you think? So I thought, great, he's going to be the one to kill Reva.
Your rage was useful.
How? Her rage didn't do anything except send her around cutting off people's hands and stuff. He was the one that kept telling her to stop doing what she was doing, and she kept doing it. Are we supposed to think that he let himself get killed by her because she intended to kill him? He didn't know he was going to survive? Or because, oh, well, your anger was a bit useful, haha. I don't know who thinks this plot is good. I don't know who writes this plot, but if this is meant to be intelligent, it isn't. This entire scene reeks of smugness. Like there's some big gotcha here, some big plot that's been revealed, which is supposed to have been, well, we've laid the seeds and the breadcrumbs throughout the entire episodes. No, you haven't. None of this makes sense. Because your anger was useful, but now it's tiresome. And I will leave you in the gutter where we found you. I'm like, hang on, you're not even gonna kill her? No, they're not even gonna kill her.
Goodbye.
What is happening? So with that, they walk off and they just leave her on the ground. Oh yeah, Vader is known for his benevolence, isn't he? He's always letting people survive. This also means that in the last episode, when he walked into that room and started to choke her, he never actually intended to choke her. What? One single reason why she's alive right now, apart from we need it for the plot. Because boy, do they need it for the plot. Meanwhile, the ship escapes with all the people on it, even though the Star Destroyer should have just immediately blasted it out of the sky. It's literally holding orbit over where they flew up from, so it's not as if it wouldn't have known. So instead of getting shot down, this guy just tells Obi-Wan that they're behind us, so they're getting followed. I mean, great, but why aren't they shooting at you? That's the real question I want to know. You're telling me the Star Destroyer doesn't have any faster vessels than a transport ship as well. But Reva still managing to survive because she's magic after getting stabbed twice with a lightsaber for some reason. She gets her lightsaber back, which Vader kindly left for her, and then she sees the communication device that was dropped. And Obi-Wan senses there's something wrong. So she picks it up and obviously it contains the message about Tatooine and Luke, as that's exactly the kind of message that you wouldn't delete and would just leave lying around for anyone to find. Obviously, that makes perfect sense. There's also no reason for this device to even exist in the episode right now, except for this very moment. It contributes nothing to the episode except for her to move on to the next location. But Obi-Wan has sensed through the Force something's gone horribly wrong, and he looks at Leia as if, oh no, something's gone horribly wrong. And she looks back at him and nods as if, yes, I felt it too. You're a 10-year-old child that doesn't even know what the Force is. No, you didn't feel anything, dear. I still want an answer on why Leia is suddenly really powerful in the Force, and then why when we hit the original trilogy, suddenly has none of these powers. Just because you made it up, Disney, doesn't mean you can go back in time and add it in there. It doesn't make any sense. And we end with Obi-Wan looking as distraught as I've felt throughout this entire series. Oh, look, we've got Luke. After 6 episodes, we may finally get about 2 minutes of Luke during an entire episode. Perhaps, maybe, a bit. Don't worry, audience. You've sat through enough pain. Maybe we'll actually give you a good episode for the finale. We can hope. This episode was the epitome of, ooh, shiny. That's all it was. There's so many plot holes and problems with the character arc in this that I don't think any one person's going to even be able to catch them all, let alone have enough time in one video to talk about them all. All of these were supposed to be big reveals, and none of them actually make sense on their own, let alone when combined with the others. And if this is meant to be the epic fight between Darth Vader and Obi-Wan, because, let's face it, the first one wasn't epic at all, and this is meant to be the one that explains the final line of when he meets him next time, that also doesn't make any sense because that's not how you talk in that situation. And yet here we are with Darth Vader using the Force to control lightsabers rather than his lightsaber, leaving people alive, everyone, and his dog getting stabbed by lightsabers and just easily surviving the wound. What, so now people die to a blaster wound, but a lightsaber that goes all the way through you is fine? What? And everyone pretending as if it was all done deliberately. It was all a master plan all along. Yeah. Oh yeah, we let you kill this guy just so you'd be useful. Oh yeah, we let you go around and hunt Obi-Wan even though you don't have a reason to hunt Obi-Wan because you were useful. I mean, you repeatedly let Obi-Wan go. In fact, every single time you caught Obi-Wan, you let him go, but you were still useful. What? She actually wasn't useful at all to Vader at all, because at no point did Vader get any of the people he was actually interested in, and yet he still showed mercy. That was mercy. I've seen some of the time where you're a pitiful creature, and so you surviving will make you be in more pain than death. I get that, but that doesn't work here. That's not even true here. But I can see it now. This is the best episode ever. This is the best Star Wars ever. There was lightsaber battles, there was blaster fights, stormtroopers were walking into melee range for absolutely no reason whatsoever, so they were getting defeated by metal bars. There was a woman who had a droid protecting her because, she was so upset that she lost her extendable vibrating attachment. We had the guy from Silicon Valley who, honestly, I still don't know why he was in the episode. They kept cutting back to him for him to do literally nothing. And what were those ships? Obi-Wan, you can't leave. Why? Because we need the ship. Okay, but there's 2 ships. Why can't I take the other one? You all fit in one of them. I don't even know what that scene was. All of this stuff is supposed to be somebody outsmarting somebody else. So it's supposed to be clever. You're not supposed to see it coming. But outsmarting someone is supposed to make sense. I don't know who we're supposed to be outsmarting with the level of this plot, except an amoeba. Maybe that would be impressed. Maybe that would think this is the best Star Wars ever. But for me, no. I'm going to need a little bit more out of my story for that. Thank you very much. But those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know down in the comments below. Like the video if you like the video. Subscribe. More videos like this in the future. And I will see you in the next one. The finale. Bye-bye.